Johnny could only sing one note, and the note he sang was this.
Hi, I'm Christiane Noll, and I'm going to be here at 54 Below, Feinstein's 54 Below. It's actually a perfect place to do this. It's the first of a series, and we're going back to the classic American songbook. And obviously, Michael Feinstein, that's been his mission statement. That's what he does. So this is kind of a perfect show to kick off this series. And it's all about Rodgers and Hart. And we're doing, I think, a lot of the well-known Rodgers and Hart songs, some that I embarrassingly didn't know so well. I'm going to know them really well by the time this is done. But it is on March 27th, Tuesday, 2 shows that evening. So it's a one evening concert. So I think it's the 7 and the 9:30.
Okay. So I would love to hear about that, precisely about the songs that you didn't know that you're discovering through this show.
Well, there's a song. Well, I should say it's going to be me. It's not just me. It's going to be me and Darius Tahas and Debbie Boone. Yeah, that's when she told me. No, because you like my life. Maybe there's a whole lot of people that don't even know that song anymore. But I'm sorry. When I was growing up, she was one of the voices that I sang along to. And she's one of the reasons that I sound the way I sound is because of her. No, I'm like, when I was 12 or 11 or whatever, how old I was when that was happening. Now when I was 2 and that song came out. I'm so excited to meet her. But we're singing all kinds of stuff. So what are we doing? We're doing a song that I know I had never heard of before called Way Out West. Do you know that song?
I've never heard it.
It's this funny sort of it's sort of like a rodeo cowboy kind of feel to it, but it's all about get along little taxi, you can keep the change, as opposed to little donkey, and it's this New York centric person talking about way out west on West End Avenue. So very clever lyrics. I mean, that's what Rodgers and Hart. I think it's all about the lyrics, because I think he said that. I think that's how it works. When Richard Rodgers wrote with Hart, the lyrics came first, and then he added the music to it. Where I think the other ones, Rodgers and Hammerstein, it went the other way around. Right. I think.
I'm not really sure, but
take that to the bank. Yeah.
Poor Johnny, one note, yelled willy-nilly until he was blue in the face. For whole.
So you've played so many different kinds of characters on stage, and I wonder, when you are doing a cabaret show or like one of your own shows where you're Christian and not a character, is the process of selecting a song similar to when you say, I want to play this character?
I think yes, in many ways, because gentleman Bruce Kimmel, I will give him ups all the time. He produced my first and my third solo CD, and I did a one-woman show out of the first one, and I've done the Gershwin here and repeatedly. But he said it's the why. It's the what is easy, but it's the why. And once you have the why, then you can figure out what the what is. So in terms of song selection, so if you figure out what the story or why you want to tell the story, then the specifics of the story become easier. So I got to sort of say this Rodgers and Hart songs that I already knew, but Deb Weiner, and she's the one that this is her brainchild. She's the one that kind of said, okay, that's good, we'll keep that into consideration, and now you're going to be doing these songs. So then you just have to explore them and explore the lyric and see how it affects you, and because it has to come out of your mouth. So it becomes an interesting journey, because then each song, you're right, each song becomes a character that you're playing.
When everyone was mute, Johnny stood alone. Cats and dogs stopped yapping, lions in the zoo all were jealous of Johnny's big trill.
Well, thank you for joining us, Deborah. So, what was the seed that sparked you wanted to do these shows?
Well, I love this space. I loved coming here since the day they opened, and I just finished 9 seasons as artistic director of the Lyrics and Lyricists American Songbook series at the 92nd Street Y, 50 original shows, and it's time to do something else. And so I started talking with them here, and we decided to launch this brand new classic American Songbook series. And there's 3 one-night only shows. March 27th, May 8th, and June 17th.
Right. Like growing up with the Great American Songbook, I've often gone through moments when I'm like, oh, I never realized this song is from like a Broadway show or a movie and that kind of stuff. So can you share experiences that you had with songs where you go like, oh?
Well, a lot of the songs that we were coming up with that were on the list, because I know a lot of these songs more as standalone songs, and I was asking, are they in a show? And it's like, well, yeah, pretty much everything's from Babes in Arms, you know.
Right. Well,
so that's what it feels like.
Babes in Arms is the Babes in Arms is the best of it. I mean, a lot of these songs, especially the earlier ones, were written for shows that you couldn't even do today. You've never heard of, but the songs became standards because they're these great songs.
But that's also what they would do. They would make the sheet music, and if a show came out and they'd have the sheet music of the song, you wouldn't buy the recording because they didn't necessarily have recordings as readily available. So you'd have the sheet music and you play the songs.
Yeah, and before rock and roll, that's really the kind of the cool thing of how it worked. All the really big standard pop songs that we all know as pop standards and were recorded by big recording artists, whether it's Ella Fitzgerald or Peggy Lee or Nat Cole or Sinatra or whatever, came from originally either a Broadway show, a movie musical, a movie where it was thrown in as a weird thing and it wasn't really a musical, or a big band, period. Really. That, occasionally, and things were written as pop songs as well. But, like a Tin Pan Alley kind of thing. And so some of those, it's really after Rodgers and Hammerstein in the 40s when Broadway musicals, the stories became really integrated, so the music really helped tell the story in a theatrical way, that you saw much fewer pop songs. But what's really interesting? In the early days, or in the golden age of Broadway, like in the days of My Fair Lady and Pajama Game and stuff like that, the big record companies like Columbia Records would put money into Broadway musicals for the rights to, because that was like the machinery of the business. Columbia Records was a big investor in, say, Pajama Game, and for that they got the right to have their artists record those songs first, because the object of the game was to see if you could get a hit song out of a show. I mean, even Little Night Music had Send in the Clowns, right, and that was about as late as it got. But Rosemary Clooney was on their roster along with a lot of other people. She had nothing to do with Pajama Game, but Hey There became a huge pop hit because they went, Rosemary, get in the studio, you're going to record this. We paid for this show so we could see what we could make into hit songs.
So sing Johnny one note out loud.
Wow. So are there any, what's like the performer that comes to your mind when you think about the Great American Songbook?
Michael Feinstein.
That's such a good answer.
And Rosemary Clooney.
Yeah, sure.
I have to tell a funny story, though. When we were rehearsing the other day, and that Way Out West number, because I never learned, I was sitting there trying to wrap my brain around what it was and what it was going to be for me and all this stuff. And we were rehearsing at her place, and she has, this awesome piano with pictures of all sorts of amazing friends that she's had over the years. And one front and center is her and Rosemary Clooney. And right on cue, as I was not being funny and not getting it right, the picture fell over. And I was like, I know, Rosie, I know, I'm sorry. But yeah, so.
Yeah. She would have loved you. It wasn't as bad as all that. Rosemary Clooney, I was really blessed, was like a mentor, like it's kind of a second mom to me when I was very young and started to come up, and we just kind of like had this kind of like mutual lightning strike. If it was a romantic movie, would have been in love forever. And we just stayed together, and we're very, very close. And I learned so much from her. But she was one of the great recording artists of the American Songbook. Also, yes, Michael Feinstein. But also people like Nat Cole and Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and Peggy Lee and I'm forgetting so many people. There's Sinatra, of course, that goes without saying, and Tony Bennett. But there's so many. And today, John Pizzarelli, and Jessica Molaski, his wife, and John do a lot of things together. But these songs are really timeless. There's a reason that people keep these in their shows, in their books, in their acts, in the concerts, because they speak to us today, just like classical music. You don't go, oh, Mozart, that's so 18th century,
Right.
It's like no, it's America's greatest music.
Sing Johnny